The most profound and enduring battles we face in life are not fought in arenas, boardrooms, or battlefields. They are waged within the confines of our own minds. These internal wars are often the most overlooked, yet they are the ones that determine the trajectory of our lives more than any external circumstance ever could. The war against yourself is a daily, relentless confrontation with your own fears, doubts, weaknesses, and limitations. It's a conflict that cannot be won by chance. It requires intentionality, awareness, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. At the heart of this internal war lies the struggle against self-doubt. Every person, regardless of their status or accomplishments, encounters moments when they question their own worth and capability. These moments are like shadows that creep in when things go quiet, when you're alone, reflecting, or just on the brink of stepping into something greater. The voice of doubt is insidious. It whispers that you're not good enough, not talented enough, not smart enough. It tries to convince you that failure is inevitable, so you might as well not try. This voice doesn't scream. It softly erodes confidence one thought at a time. Overcoming this voice begins with awareness. You cannot defeat what you do not recognize. Many people live on autopilot, never truly stopping to examine the beliefs and narratives playing in their heads. But once you pause and begin to observe your thoughts, you start to see patterns. You begin to notice how fear of rejection has held you back from speaking your mind, how fear of failure has stopped you from taking a leap, or how a single past mistake has been replaying in your mind like a broken record, convincing you that you'll never rise above it. Awareness is the first strike in this internal war. It brings light to the darkness and exposes the lies that have taken root in your psyche. This battle is also about facing your fears, those primal, often irrational, triggers that hold us hostage. Fear has an uncanny ability to disguise itself as logic and practicality. It cloaks itself in well-reasoned excuses and convincing what-ifs. Fear tells you to play it safe, to stay in your comfort zone, to wait for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never comes. Fear grows stronger the longer you obey it. The longer you allow it to dictate your decisions, the more it tightens its grip on your life. You break this cycle not by eliminating fear, but by acting in spite of it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to move forward even when fear is present. Each time you confront fear and choose to act, you weaken its hold on you. Another formidable opponent in this internal war is the identity you've unconsciously adopted over time. From a young age, you begin forming a sense of self based on experiences, feedback, and societal conditioning. Perhaps someone once told you that you weren't athletic, so you never pursued sports. Or maybe you failed at something early on and decided you were never going to be good at that thing. These labels, many of them false or outdated, become internal scripts that play on repeat, shaping how you see yourself and what you believe you're capable of. They form a cage around your potential, limiting what you allow yourself to imagine or pursue. To fight this, you must be willing to rewrite your story. You must become intentional about reshaping your identity by challenging old beliefs and affirming new truths. This means catching yourself in those moments when you think, "I'm not the kind of person who," and asking, "Why not?" You must take responsibility for your self-concept and begin to craft a new narrative, one that aligns with your goals, your values, and the person you aspire to become. This isn't easy. It takes consistent effort and the willingness to let go of the version of yourself that feels familiar but no longer serves you. A significant component of the internal battle is also the struggle with comfort and complacency. As human beings, we are wired to seek safety and predictability. Our brains are designed to avoid pain and seek pleasure, which makes comfort feel natural and progress feel threatening. Yet, growth only occurs outside of the comfort zone. The internal war intensifies the moment you decide to pursue something greater because your mind will resist anything that disrupts the status quo. It will tempt you to settle, to justify staying where you are, to rationalize inaction. This is why so many dreams die quietly, not with a dramatic failure but with a slow surrender to comfort. To overcome this, you must embrace discomfort as part of the process. You must train yourself to sit with uncertainty, to endure the growing pains that come with transformation. This is where discipline comes in, doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is the armor you wear in this internal war. It protects you from the pull of laziness and the seduction of short-term gratification. It anchors you in purpose when motivation fades. Every time you choose discipline over ease, you chip away at the weaker parts of yourself and build resilience. Finally, the war against yourself is also a battle for presence. for staying grounded in the moment rather than being hijacked by regrets from the past or anxieties about the future. The mind has a tendency to wander, to replay old wounds or forecast worst-case scenarios. This mental time travel is exhausting and often paralyzing. To reclaim your power, you must learn to stay present, to bring your focus back to what you can control right now. This moment is where change begins. This moment is where progress is made. Winning the war against yourself is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about stripping away the lies, the fears, the doubts, and stepping into the strength and clarity that have always been within you. The battle is hard. It is daily. But every choice you make, to rise instead of retreat, to speak truth over fear, to persist when quitting feels easier, is a victory. These small wins, stacked over time, create momentum. And that momentum becomes transformation. The greatest battles we fight are not waged on a battlefield, but in the unseen realm of our own minds. There lies the true enemy, the inner adversary that wears many masks: fear, doubt, insecurity, procrastination, guilt, and self-sabotage. It doesn't shout or rage in obvious ways. It whispers quietly, persistently, convincing us that we are not good enough, not ready, not worthy of the next step, not capable of rising. This internal war is not a single event. It's a daily struggle, an ongoing tension between who we are and who we are called to become. At the heart of this war is fear, not always the kind that paralyzes in a dramatic sense, but the subtle fear that keeps us playing small. It's the fear of failure, of being judged, of disappointing others, and of stepping outside of the expectations set for us. Often, it masquerades as being realistic. It convinces us that it's safer to stay in our lane, to stick to what we know, to avoid taking risks. But every time we listen to that voice, we give away a little more of our potential. We compromise the future for the sake of a moment's comfort. Doubt walks hand in hand with fear. It creeps in when we look at our dreams and measure them against our present reality. Doubt tells us that the gap is too wide, the journey too long, and the resources too few. It compares our weaknesses to other people's strengths and whispers that we'll never measure up. It thrives in isolation, in silence, in unspoken dreams that die quietly in our hearts. But doubt is a liar, and the more we engage with it, the more we feed its power. We must learn to recognize its voice, not as truth but as resistance. Resistance to growth, resistance to change, resistance to the uncomfortable path that leads to greatness. Procrastination is one of the inner enemy's most effective weapons. It doesn't tell you to give up, it tells you to wait. Not today, it says. Tomorrow when you feel more ready, when things settle down, when you have more time. But tomorrow never comes. The delay becomes a pattern, and the pattern becomes a lifestyle. Before long, the dreams that once burned bright are now buried beneath years of postponement. The internal war requires us to fight back against that temptation, to take imperfect action, to move forward even when clarity is missing and confidence is low. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. Another weapon used against us is guilt. Guilt for past mistakes, for wasted time, for not living up to our own standards. Guilt keeps us tethered to the past. It convinces us that because we failed before, we are doomed to fail again. That we've missed too many chances and that it's too late to start now. But guilt only has power when we allow it to define us. The truth is, every moment presents a new opportunity. The past does not disqualify us unless we let it. What matters is not what we've done, but what we're willing to do now. The most dangerous form of the inner enemy is self-sabotage. This often shows up in subtle ways: quitting before the breakthrough, choosing toxic relationships, staying in environments that suffocate growth, or setting goals without ever following through. It's a pattern of undermining ourselves, often without realizing it. We may think we're avoiding pain, but we are actually preserving it. We avoid short-term discomfort only to guarantee long-term regret. To overcome this, we must become deeply honest with ourselves. We must confront the habits, choices, and beliefs that are keeping us stuck. This is not about shame, it's about awareness. And awareness is the first step toward change. Winning this inner war doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. It demands that we wake up every day with the resolve to confront our shadows, to question our limiting beliefs, and to challenge the narrative that says we are not enough. Every step toward self-mastery begins with self-awareness. We must become familiar with the enemy's tactics, the stories it tells, the emotions it triggers, and the excuses it feeds us. We must be vigilant, for this is a battle that doesn't end with one victory. It is won in the small, consistent decisions we make each day. When we choose discipline over comfort, when we speak truth over fear, when we take action despite doubt, we reclaim our power. We begin to forge a new identity, one not built on survival, but on purpose. We stop being victims of our thoughts and start becoming stewards of our potential. This transformation does not happen overnight, but with every small win, the voice of the inner enemy grows weaker, and the voice of truth grows louder. In this war against ourselves, the battlefield is within. The weapons are forged in silence, solitude, and struggle, and victory belongs, not to the strongest but to the most determined, the ones who refuse to bow to fear, who choose growth over ease and who rise again and again, no matter how many times they fall. The most intense and defining battles we face are not fought against others, but against ourselves. Within each person exists a duality, one part striving for greatness, and another content with comfort, safety, and predictability. The war within is not dramatic in the traditional sense. It is quiet, constant, and often invisible. Yet it shapes the course of our lives more profoundly than any external force ever could. This internal struggle manifests in many ways. It shows up in moments of hesitation when fear paralyzes action. It speaks in a voice of doubt, whispering reasons why you aren't good enough, strong enough, or worthy of success. It resists change, clings to old habits, and convinces you that growth is too risky, too uncomfortable. This resistance is not external, it is internal. It is the part of you that is afraid to evolve, afraid to step into the unknown, afraid of what it might mean to leave behind who you were in order to become who you are meant to be. Overcoming this inner adversary starts with recognition. You must become aware of your own mental patterns, your triggers, your excuses. It's about observing the stories you tell yourself, the ones that rationalize failure, justify procrastination, or explain away lost opportunities. These stories often stem from past experiences, old wounds, and unhealed parts of ourselves that seek to protect us from pain. But what protects you from pain can also protect you from progress. Protection in this sense becomes limitation. Every time you choose to confront your fears instead of retreating, you chip away at that inner resistance. That confrontation might look like having a difficult conversation, taking a risk on a dream, or standing up for yourself. It might mean waking up early to work on something that matters deeply to you, even when your body screams for rest. It means showing up for yourself consistently, even when motivation fades and discipline becomes the only fuel. There is no victory in this war without struggle. Growth doesn't happen in the absence of pain, it happens through it. When you start pushing against your limits, the voice inside will grow louder. It will attempt to sabotage your progress by amplifying self-doubt. That is a sign you are on the edge of transformation. The resistance is not proof you are failing. It is proof you are progressing. The more it pushes back, the more you know you're in the right place. But this is not a battle you fight once and win forever. It is a daily confrontation. Each morning offers a new opportunity to either rise to your potential or fall back into old patterns. It's in the little decisions, the choice to give your best effort or just get by, the choice to speak up or stay silent, the choice to move forward or remain stuck. These moments compound. They shape character, determine outcomes, and ultimately, define who you become. To defeat the part of you that wants to settle for less, you must become intentional. You must decide what you stand for and remind yourself daily of the higher version of you that you're working toward. That version doesn't come by accident. It is crafted in the fire of self-discipline, honesty, and relentless accountability. You must become your own coach, your own motivator, your own source of strength when no one else is watching. A key part of this journey is accepting that fear will always exist. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to move forward in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act regardless. When you face yourself, your flaws, your weaknesses, your past, you reclaim power that was lost to avoidance. You begin to live authentically, no longer driven by the need to be perfect but by the desire to be whole. Self-confrontation is one of the most uncomfortable processes you can undergo, yet it is the most liberating. It means being honest about the habits that are destroying your potential, the relationships that drain your energy, the choices that lead to regret. It means sitting in silence long enough to hear the truth of your own heart. It means being willing to destroy the version of yourself that survives but never thrives. This war is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you really are beneath the fear, the conditioning, and the self-imposed limits. That essence, the part of you that dreams boldly, loves deeply, and dares greatly, has always been there. It just needs to be uncovered, strengthened, and given room to lead. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply not quit. When everything in you wants to give up, to retreat, to hide, you stay, you breathe, you endure. In that moment, you teach yourself that you are stronger than your fears, more determined than your doubts, and more committed than your excuses. With each act of defiance against your own limitations, you build momentum. You gain clarity. You grow. The war against yourself is the most important battle you'll ever fight. It is not fought with noise or spectacle, but with quiet choices made in private moments. It demands vigilance, discipline, and an unwavering belief that who you are today does not define who you can become tomorrow. It's about choosing every single day to move forward, even if by just an inch, toward the life you were meant to live.